So we were talking about, last class we talked about residential toilets. Today I've got some of the reference images and also some more details regarding the residential toilets. So this is an example of the residential toilet from Le Corbusier's Villa Savoy. So what you can see is you can see the wash basin. As soon as you enter, you have the pot, then you have the wash basin, and then you have the bathing area. And next to the bathing area is also like a seating area. Okay, and it's more like a inbuilt bathtub which is there, and then you can see the shower curtain. Now all the surfaces of the bathrooms are being tiled. This is in another from Villa Rocher by the similar architect Le Corbusier, wherein you can actually see the way the opening is for the toilet. You don't have a door as such, but there is a partition that comes out, which is next, which is next to the bidet, which is there, okay, which is also outside, right? And that's the wash basin, and you can actually see all the pipeline which is being exposed. It's not concealed at all. And for the storage, he has actually created a niche within the wall itself so that you can put your toiletries and things like that. This is the toilet designed by Flancroyd Wright, Falling Waters, wherein you can see the bathtub. Uh, the storage has been concealed. There is a wooden shutter to it. You have a toilet paper roll onto your left hand side. Then there is a wash basin. There is always a towel rod as well on the right. On the left hand side is another one where you can see the grab bar, vertical grab bar which is there onto the dado wall. And it's more like a squarish kind of a bathtub. And just before the bathtub you can see there is a seating as well. Yeah. And in front of the seating is your wash basin. And then you have like a walk-in wardrobe, so you can actually, the seating also serves within the walk-in wardrobe so that it can helps you. Also the shower is there at the top, which is right at the center of the tub. So all the pipelines here are concealed, unlike the one that we saw in Le Corbusier's toilets. So what you see is only the fixtures and the accessories which are being installed. Now let's understand the key plan and also the dimensions at which you have to place your fixtures within the toilet. Now this is a typical layout wherein you have your master bedroom with a door. As I told you earlier, whenever you open the door of your master bedroom, you'll never see the toilet in the front. You always have the toilet which is tucked in. So in this case, as soon as you enter, on the right hand side is your toilet layout. Uh, so when you enter, you have a wash basin. Now the wash basin, they have created a counter which is 1320, okay, wherein the wash basin is placed right at the center and there are equal distances on both sides of the wash basin where they have prepared the counter. Now whenever you're using the wash basin, your elbow width has to be contained. It shouldn't hit the wall and make you uncomfortable, and that's why it's important to ensure that minimum distance from the wall to keep your wash basin is 400, 450 or 550. Okay. In this case, it's 1320 because it's nice long linear bathroom, so you can actually utilize a nice counter space. Uh, then what you have is basically your pot, which is again equally divided. So what we are trying to tell you with this layout is you want to keep exact dimensions so that it's not eccentric. Like for example 820, so from the counter this is at 410. Okay, so 400, 450 or 550 is maximum that you can have, because from the wall, because the wall will also have your toilet paper roll, your jet spray and things like that. So they have to be easily accessible. They can't be too far. Now in this case, on your right hand side at the back wall will be your jet spray, and on your left hand side will be your toilet paper roll. As soon as you enter in, you have the bathing cubicle. Now last time I had mentioned 900 is the minimum, but here if you notice, they have a column that protrudes out into the bathing. So because of that, you at least need to give 1220 mm or 4 feet. Then you see on the right hand side wall there is a window which will also be an access panel to the ducts. So Neil, the PPT is already been loaded onto the files tab on Microsoft. You can download it from there and then listen as I scroll down the PPTs. Will that work for you, Neil? Okay, great. Thanks. Now this is another example, okay, of the same layout. So can you see there is a toilet window which is there. There's an exhaust which is there. That's the only access for the external daylight. So what the architect has done on the left hand side, they have created a ventilator through which you can see as well as access. Okay. Then that is the column that I was talking about, which is protruding out in the layout as well. That is the counter. See that the jet spray is onto the right hand side of the pot on the left wall, on the right wall. Okay, and that's the pot there. And then you can do variations in terms of your uh, tiling. This is another example wherein you have the, yes, any questions?
Will there be a tile drop when there is a
Yes,
like
there
a
will be
threshold?
yes, there will be a slight tile drop, which just to ensure that the excess shower water doesn't come into your dry area of the toilet. But because the tiles are very dark here, you won't be able to see. But if you see, there is a door here, no? So ideally, there has to be a dotted line there. Okay, but sometimes in residential toilets, most of the client will tell you not to give those drops, especially if they have senior citizens and kids, because it also there are possibilities of tripping over that tile drop. Okay, and because it's residential, it's not going to be used. You know, the family members are going to use it, so there is a control of on how the things are being used. Now, this is in another toilet, which talks about you have a bedroom, but the toilet is right outside, right as soon as you enter in, on your left hand side is the toilet. Okay. So when you enter the other side of the toilet, they have shown what happens is you have now the pot is put onto the right hand side as soon as you enter, and then you have your wash basin, which is sandwiched between the pot and the bathing enclosure. So what happens is onto the wall. Now remember one thing: whenever you are putting in another of a pot on a brick wall which is less than 230, you have to create another 115 brick wall, which is nothing but the ledge that you see. So whenever you go to any of these malls, you actually see the ledge that forms. It gives you like a parapet on which you keep your purses and wallets and things like that, or your glass. So that is nothing but it's just a makeup wall that they've created so that the pipeline can move out. Now your drainage pipeline is going to be 100 mm. So if you have less than 230 thick wall, it's not going to accommodate that 100 mm pipe or 150 mm pipe. So that's why you can see a rectangular box which is there next to the brick hatch wall. That is nothing but a ledge wall which is created. And from the floor, it's been taken out. Uh, yes, people are raising hands one by one.
I just wanted to ask, does the position of ventilator matters?
The position of the ventilator matters in the sense it has to be an external wall because all the foul smell has to be moved out. So your toilets, you have to ensure it has natural ventilation and it has daylight. But where you position it, it's up to you completely. And also you have to also understand it has to give you privacy as well.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. There was one more person who had raised the hand. Sham.
What's the thickness of the ledge wall?
115 mm.
Okay.
Sham, do you want to ask a
Well,
question or by mistake? Okay, yeah. So then again, similarly, on your right, when you enter, that's the bathing enclosure, and you have the access panel or the window which is there. This is the visual images of that project. So can you see that ledge wall which is coming out of the pot? There is an offset within the wall itself. So that is called your ledge wall or the 115 mm brick wall. Okay. Also here the architect has actually created a niche. So these are few of mine and Durvesh's projects that we have done. This is the niche wherein you can put your storage and stuff like that. You'll always have a holder bar on the top which is holding the glass panel so that you don't, you know, it's just a partition that it creates between the shower area and the dry area. And then you have the lighting fixtures. This is another example of a residential toilet, which is nothing but a closet. It doesn't have a bathing area. So actually, what is done is basically after a certain height, the architect has put glass, and also we have specifically used white color so that even if it's a very tight space, the perseverance of the space or the way we will perceive it, it's much more better. It doesn't look as if you're entering a very like a tight space and doesn't make the users claustrophobic. So on the right hand side, you have just a box that comes out with a wash basin, which is on the top, countertop wash basin. And you have from the dado, you have glass dado after a certain height. And then you have your pot. And on the right hand side, a head actually gets cut, but if that's your toilet jet spray or your health faucet. The other name for toilet spray is jet spray is health faucet. What you see below the box of your wash basin is basically the nani trap from where the wastewater is going to drain out of your toilet. Okay. Now, if you see that the depth of this box is much higher because it's also concealing the wash basin trap, okay, which is called the bottle trap. We'll take the traps in detail. Aisha, you still have any questions to ask? Your hand is raised.
No.
Okay, Vaishnavi?
Yeah, I wanted to ask here the basin is actually smaller than the standard dimensions. So,
Yes.
is it?
Yeah, because it's just the closet, so not necessarily, it will just serve the purpose of washing your hands. It's not somewhere you're going to do your brushing and things like that. If this kind of a closet will be very close to your living room where the guest comes in, or next to your dining area where you want to wash your hands before you're dining and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No, it's not impractical to have water drain below the sink shower because whenever we are in India, we wash our toilets every day. So all the water that has to come and has that gets dropped onto the floor has to drain out. Otherwise, your floor is also going to be very wet. So you will have to give a nani trap. This nani trap is actually draining all the water that is dropping onto the floor.
No, the issue becomes if water spills around in and around my toilet. If I
Huh?
keep the trap next to the toilet, like in the left in this picture, if I put it towards the left, the water will drain out without wetting the basin area. But now the basin area is also getting wet if we keep the drain because the water flows towards the drain.
No, but so try and understand you don't have any kind of a tap on the other side. The water of the bowl is going to overflow at some time. It all see these are behavioral patterns, and you really can't rationalize how people are going to use this wash basin. There would be some who would love to splash water on their faces when there is a possibility of water dropping onto the floor. So what will happen is that area is immediate, right? And also the
Mm.
bottle trap, which is taking your wash basin water, has to get connected to the nani, and then the nani will drain it out. So whenever you use your wash basin, in the nanny trap, you actually hear the voice of the trickling water. And you wonder why the voice is coming from the nanny. Because it's interconnected. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. No. Perfectly fine. There is a jet spray. It's actually get cordoned off. So you have a toilet paper roll on the right hand side, but on the left hand side wall there will be a jet spray right ahead of where the pot ends. So a water closet, urinal, lavatory or bidet shall not be used closer than 380 mm from the center of any side wall partition. Guys, please remember these dimensions. Vanity or any other obstruction or closer than 760 mm center to center between adjacent fixtures. There shall not be less than 530 mm clearance in front of the water closet, lavatory or bidet to any wall fixtures or door. So the dimensions that we are telling you, which is very simple from the wall, whenever you have to put any fixture, make sure it is not less than 380. Whatever that you give should be plus than 380 or 380 mm. Between the two fixtures, it has to be 760 minimum, not less than that. And in front of your pot, the minimum dimension that you need to maintain is 530. And these are nothing but the standards given by the NBC, which is a National Building Code 2016. Similarly, a water closet compartment shall not be less than 760 mm in width, okay, and 15-20 mm in depth for floor-mounted closets, and not less than 760 mm in width, and 14-20 mm in depth for wall-hung water closets. So what happens is you get two kinds of pots. One pot you will see that the pipe turns and gets actually inserts itself into the flooring. And there are other pots which actually will have the pipe that goes into the wall. Okay, the one that goes into the wall is called your wall hung pot, toilet fixture or the water closet, and the one that goes onto your floor is called the floor mounted closets. So when you use the one which is floor mounted, you require more space, it's 15-20, but if you use a wall hung, it is 14-20, so you can you can benefit by 100 mm space. Now these are the few accessories. We just got this picture just to make you understand that there are different kinds of toilet rods and holders. So there are these shelves and racks that you can get. You have different sizes of your napkin holders, which you see onto your right hand side, bottom two, which are there. On the topmost, you have this robe hook, we call it, which is nothing but hooks to hang your clothes. Then you have onto your right is your soap dish. On the below you have this kind of a glass shelf which put your shower gels and things like that. And then you have different sizes of towel rods that you can use. Whenever you're putting accessories, you have to be very careful because these might hurt you. So the heights and where it's popping out from the wall, it's very important. Okay, because whenever certain accidents happen within the toilets, these are the major points where people will get hurt maximum. So you have to be very careful, and even in your day-to-day usage, you don't want your hands banging against these fixtures. This is the image that we got to just show you the kind of grab bars which are there. Okay, the heights of the toilet paper roll also which are there depending on, so that you serve maximum people. Then you have this emergency panel bar onto your left hand side where there are two buttons which are there. There is a vertical grab bar, so if someone wants to stand and push those. On the right hand side that you have is your tissue paper, and then you can actually use your and then there is a dustbin below itself. Just 1 second. Ainsley have a class. This is another residential. It's a bungalow bathroom, wherein what we are doing is here we have actually created an outdoor shower area that we mentioned last time. So what happens is, as soon as you enter, you have the pot onto your right hand side. You can see the jet spray and the toilet paper roll. Then there is a ledge wall. See, here also we have created that 115 ledge wall, because that is an internal wall which is going to be less than 230 thick. The wooden trellis that I was talking about to drain from the shower, so that your pot area and your wash basin area uh, is completely dry, is this wooden trellis. Okay, it actually drains out the whole water, and from there it's connected to the nani. Then you have this in front of the pot is your uh, bathtub, and then you can step out for your shower, which is an open shower area. And on the right hand side, you just have this greenery, which is there, so that you get the feel of the outdoor shower area. These are the images that I've got to show you that how we treat the toilets. What happens that we have seen over the period of years, whenever you guys design toilet, there is this duct that comes next to it. Okay. Now there are different ways of treating those ducts in case you have to. Now this is that I'm showing you from the outside is actually your outdoor shower area which is created. Okay. This is another shower area, that outdoor shower area that has got created. Yeah. Any questions so far before we enter the public buildings and public toilets? Should I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So toilet in public buildings and public toilets. So let's understand. Today we'll just discuss about toilets in public buildings, and next time I will take you in detail the public toilets and how differently we can design them. So the planning considerations, you have to make sure that they are at the convenient locations within a building to avoid traveling over long distances, which means 91 meters in case of malls and 152 meters in case of other occupancies. Now these are again as per the NBC standards of 2016. What happens is, whenever you're talking about toilets in public buildings, the ease of access has to be there. Also, they has to be visually connected, in terms of it shouldn't be a problem for a person to try and look for the toilets at multiple locations and regular intervals in case of longer buildings. So which means tomorrow you decide to create a very narrow plan, and it's a very deep, long, like, the length of the running length of the building is going to be more, then you have to make sure they are being given at multiple locations. At least one facade elevation of all the walls of the toilet should be naturally ventilated. On facades elevations where it can be easily assimilated, for example, to be avoided on the main front elevation or elevation which is the most visually accessible to the user. So you will always, whenever you're entering public buildings, you have a very neat and clean facade, right? And that acts to the aesthetic value, and also it's also like, your aesthetic statement that an architect wants to create for its building. So you will never put a toilet on the front facade. It's also not advisable to put services or service go right at the corners or the ends of the building, because the corners are actually, you can treat them very beautifully within buildings. You don't have to waste them into services. And as I told you, they have to be most visually accessible to the users. Lobbies have to be created. So there is a certain kind of a cutoff which is there from your main moving area and then the service area, to be planned in areas such that their maintenance does not hamper any other activities. Now imagine if I don't create these cutoff lobbies which move the toilets away from my main usable area, and if there are any kinds of maintenance and operational issues which are coming, then if there is maintenance work going on, it's going to hamper my day-to-day activity. And because of which these are very important considerations that an architect has to keep in mind. In and around common circulation areas of the functions such as staircases and reception lobbies of offices, art galleries, museums, theatres, etc. Okay. Which means your ambulatory space, like your corridors which are there within your malls and even in your public buildings, through those corridors, the toilet should be immediately accessible. Attempts to be made to provide other services such as air handling unit or laundry along with the toilets for convenience of maintenance. This is nothing but you try and create a service core which we talked about in our first class where it's nothing um, different, but all the services are being put together. Now, air handling unit is basically used in your air conditioning systems. So we'll be dealing with air handling units in your fourth year. So if you see any residential building today, whenever you enter your lobby, you will always have this electrical shaft. You'll have your firefighting equipments. Then you will have your water pipelines and things like going. So everything is being at least shared by one wall or within a corner, L kind of a space, so that it's easy for maintenance and operations. All doors, windows, or any other devices needing access within the toilet shall be located that they have proper approach. So make sure the approaches are very clean, neat, and clear. As I told you, the opening sizes that you're going to work with in toilets is minimum 800 mm opening. Okay. Uh, so once you put your frames and things like that, it will reduce to 750. Yeah. In all types of buildings, individual toilets and pantries should be provided for executives and for meetings, seminar, conference rooms as per the user requirement. Now, pantries and individual toilets are also very important, especially when you have seminars and conference room. You can't depend on the toilets which are tucked where the corridors are of the other spaces. So you need to make sure if you're designing certain kind of niche spaces within your working environment, then give dedicated toilets. Toilet rooms shall not open directly into a room used for preparation of food for services to public. This is a very stringent law because it is about the hygiene standards. So whenever you have a toilet room, you won't have a kitchen next to it, and even if there is a kitchen, then there has to be completely cordoned off. You can't open up the toilet door into a kitchen. Okay. Calculations needs to be carried out as per standards, the same standards that we discussed last time. Other functions which are within the vicinity of the toilet in public buildings will be your storerooms, your pantry, kitchens for cafe, dining, restaurants, your staff restrooms, drinking water fountain, and laundry room. Now, again, I'll take an example of your movie theaters that you go for. So, whenever you come within the lobby, you will always have the toilets which are there tucked in on one side. They will never open into the space where you're standing and buying your popcorn and things like that. Okay. There are hygiene reasons, and also there are reasons about your foul smell. Sometimes there is leakages that happens within the toilets. Drainage doesn't happen well, and there's maintenance work needs to be done. So now let's understand in a representative section how the toilets work. Now toilets should be ideally stacked on top of each other for efficient operations of pumping systems. The flow of water, drainage in the water supply as well as drainage pipes occur via gravity. So you would never use any kind of pump to put water into your taps. Okay. From the overhead tank, it directly comes into your tap using gravity because it's just moving from top to bottom. Okay. And even the drainage, it just moves around with a slope in your flooring which is not being uh, felt by your uh, legs, but what it does is basically it drains the wastewater into your nani, and from the nani it comes into your drainage pipe, and from the drainage pipe using gravity it will be flown down at the ground level. Post operation maintenance is low and convenient. Now you have to be very careful and ensure that there is a continuity in the section where the toilets are. Avoid discontinuity of toilets at upper or lower levels, as it is difficult to manage abrupt turning of pipes. Now look at the pipes, how the pipe from the topmost toilet going to go in if the toilets below that floor is tucked out. Okay, And also there is another toilet which is tucked in. The pipe can't hang in the air like that. It has to hug the elevation of the wall building and then travel down. Now, what happens in services is you have to. It's a rule given that you have to minimize your twist and turns. You can't twist and turn the pipe the way you want, whether it's water supply, whether it's drainage, or whether it's the ducting that for your air conditioning units and things like that. The moment you introduce these turns and twists, there are pressure problems that are created. There are high uh, possibilities of blocking that entire junction. That's why please avoid those. The pipes from the toilet at the higher levels cannot reach lower levels. Okay. Functions permissible above and below. So toilets should be as per the adjacent diagram. Like if you have the toilets which are there, kitchen AHU storage non-perishable ones, AHU storage non-perishable. As far as possible, only functions related to services should be provided below toilets with appropriate waterproofing of the slab. Now, what happens whenever you have a toilet slab? It's a sunken slab, which means if your floor level of your office space or your institutional building is at a certain level, the toilet floor, the slab level is going to sunk down by 150 to 200 mm if it's an English toilet, but if you go for an Indian pot, then it's 400 mm. Kitchens can be provided over toilets only under special circumstances. Like for example, this generally happens in residential areas. Most of the institutional and public buildings won't have this. But in residential areas, because of certain reasons in Vastu, and the client really wants the layout and want to change the existing layout and wants the layout which is forcing yourself to put the kitchen under the toilets, that is doable. Okay, but that will be your worst case scenario, that there are no other options available for you to be used. But kitchen can be still put in because it also has a nani trap. So under your kitchen sink there is a nani trap which is there from where the pipe goes into. So that also requires a sunken slab, and both are wet spaces. But what happens is you have to ensure that your waterproofing is done very nicely. Otherwise, there has to be a lot of leakage problems which will occur, especially for the people below, staying below you. Kitchens can be provided. Proper planning should be carried out while designing the kitchen interiors to avoid installing plumbing pipes on the window and entering a foul smell through the window. Now, this is another where we are talking about that above the toilets, you shouldn't put your circulation area, habitable rooms, seatings, even kitchen for that matter. In the earlier case, that was more like, it's like a scenario wherein you really can't avoid that, and you have to put in. Also, those kitchens need to be much more drier and they are not extensively used kitchen. It's more like a pantry with a light kind of a work. Habitable functions such as restaurants, galleries, cafes, circulation areas, balconies, seating, etc. should be avoided above or below toilet. These are possibilities of plumbing pipes to be visible over the openings of such spaces and foul smell that can affect the quality of air near these openings. Possibility of leakage below the toilet is high, as well as maintenance of the same can cause disturbance of activities in such spaces. So usually the lesson to be learned here is that you need to tuck your toilets one top of the other. Do not stagger them or do not interspace them with different kinds of functions, which will have troubles later on, especially during operations and maintenance. Also, the toilets will take up a lot of services. You'll have electrical lines which are running, so that in evenings and all, you run your toilets on artificial lights. There are a lot of exhaust fans. Then there are these drainage pipes. The drainage pipes actually also requires a kind of ventilation, because the foul smell or the gases that piles up within the pipes need to be let out somewhere. So all these things matter. Now this is a layout of a toilet within a public building, where you see that as soon as you enter, you don't see any fixture, neither you see any person. This is the right way to do it. You enter within a dead wall. And then you turn and you see all your usable spaces around you. Now, if you notice, as per our standards, the number of cubicles and the number of wash basins have to correlate. So 2 cubicles onto your left hand side, and then there is a wash basin right there. Okay. Then you have your uh, physically challenged toilet, wherein the door actually moves outside. Okay, and that's the circulatory space for the wheelchair to move around. Then you have basically your baby changing station, which is also there onto your left hand side in both. In the men's toilet, you actually give 2 urinals, and then the handicap toilet is actually being doubled up even if someone wants to use the pot. Okay. So that's like the typical layout which is there. Now these are the images of some toilets within the building. Now wherever you are designing toilets within office spaces and things like that, you need not give ceiling to floor height doors. You can actually keep some ventilation spaces, because what happens if you see this toilet, there is hardly any ventilation onto your toilet cubicle side. So on the opposite side is the only ventilator which is there. The more airy and more open you keep, it's going to be much more easier to maintain and things like that. Also, the change in the dado heights, it's just give you a sense of, you can have choices, like you have at a certain height, you have your red tiles, and beyond that is all the white tiles which are there. This is in another, wherein look at the mirror, the way it's placed, that's the space between the counter level and where the mirror is placed. There is always a gap, okay, which is being maintained. You have your tissue paper holder, then you have your dryer and stuff like that. You always have wall mounted soap dispensers which are there. So we had actually shown you a layout last time where these grab bars are, and this is how the grab bars look like, which actually can be dropped down from the wall. Okay. And these are the ones which are mechanically operated. So you see the button, the yellow and the blue. So those will help you to move them up and down. Okay, they're motorized. I had shown a desk last time for the handicap toilet. Now this is the desk where a bench I meant, wherein you can, in case any physically challenged person has to change and things like that, this could be used. Also, if you see onto the left hand side, there are these vertical panels which are nothing but the modesty boards which scroll out so that it creates like a private space for the person itself. And then you have your grab bars and things like that. This is in another toilet, especially in the hotel buildings, wherein you always, as soon as you enter, or even in your malls, you always have the wash basin area, and from the wash basin area, you will enter your cubicles. Now, if you see the counter, see how the wherever your tissue papers are, the dustbins are put right below that. So there will always a cutout within the counter. So you use your tissue paper and you throw it there and there. So it doesn't loiter onto the floor. Most of the airports also follow this. Now look at the lighting fixtures, the way they are used, the kind of different kinds of mirrors that you can use. Okay, and also the tiling pattern. Here also the doors doesn't go from floor to ceiling. Signages is something which is also very important in toilets. You have to be very clear when you give your signages, so that the people can easily know, especially the handicapped toilets. If you're not being able to provide them at every floor, you should have signages, and you should also, uh, within your layer, as soon as you enter, there are always a plan which helps you to locate where certain shops are within the malls or even in public buildings, in terms of your institutions and things like that. It will tell you in which floor is which department and things like that. So in that, you have to highlight where the handicap toilets are. for the ease of the users. So this is one of the signages which talks about that it's an all-gender restroom. And this is a typical other way of putting a signage where you don't want to write it, but it's just an iconography that you use to, inform people which are the gents toilet, which are the ladies, and which are the handicaps. Now, what happens is whenever you are designing toilets in the public buildings, you have to ensure that you design gents and ladies separately. Okay. If there are a lot of space constraints, then you can have a common physically challenged toilet. But otherwise, as I showed you the layout, each of the women and the men toilets should have physically challenged cubicle to be served. Okay. And generally, if you now look at the service score, it's also the close proximity from the corridor. It's also because people can access it very easily. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions till now? No, it's not about being politically correct, but there are so many things which are necessary, and it's also, I think, it's the personal choice. I've seen so many places where do you have a kind of all gender restrooms as well as you have gents and ladies separate, and people have their own choices. I've seen so many people using all gender restrooms very easily, and few are not being able to. So it's not about it has to be separate or something like that, but you have to also understand where and how you're using it. It's also about avoiding cases of trespassing someone's privacy as well. Not everyone is so well behaved, and that's why, especially within the office spaces and all, you want to keep them separate. There are no norms which talks about providing toilets for transgender people dedicatedly, but I feel because transgender people has the choice to choose, they can choose and enter anyone they want. Because I also feel making it a separate toilet for them is you're not giving any kind of inclusivity for them. It's going to be more exclusive. So these things you have to be very sensitive about in terms of whenever you want to give them a special kind of a treatment, because most of the angst is that why aren't we getting a normal treatment like others, and that's why I think it should be open to them to choose which ones they want to enter and use, instead of giving them an exclusive dedicated space, which puts them separate from the norm. Okay. Yeah, you can have a gender common toilet, but as I told you, it depends, and you don't have control about people who are coming from, the people who are coming from which backgrounds and things like that. So, yes, they do offer privacy, Shravan, but if you see the kind of doors and things like that, there are some people who are very, uh, what to say, they are very careful about malpractices and things like that, and that's why some people, it's just not an inviting thought for people wherein you have common things. You can actually notice it even in malls and things like that, especially your changing rooms which are dedicated. Not everyone is open to the idea that the gents and the ladies are using the same cubicles, or the same space, and things like that. So it depends.